How competitive is Korea? According to IMD's annual World Competitiveness Ranking, Korea dropped from 20th last year to 27th this year. Since the ranking is based on data from the end of each year, it essentially reflects the previous year's performance. Interestingly, in the subcategory of government efficiency, Korea improved from 39th to 31st. Isn't that confusing? Economically, Korea ranks within the global top 10, so why is national competitiveness so low? National competitiveness is mainly assessed from an economic perspective, how business-friendly a country is. So Korea is supposed to be in the top 10, but this doesn't reflect how well the government is functioning. That's why I propose a new concept, government competitiveness. At the SNU Center for Government Competitiveness, we've created this concept and published separate rankings. It evaluates how effectively a government works to improve its citizens' well-being in comparison with other governments. The importance of a national competitiveness versus government competitiveness differs by country. In market-driven countries like the US, there's a wide gap between the two with a stronger national competitiveness. However, in Korea, where government plays a larger role, the two often overlap and government competitiveness has more impact. Based on my assessment, Korea's government competitiveness has improved since 2016. Among 35 OECD countries, Korea ranked 4th 2 years ago, but due to the martial law declaration and the resulting political instability, it dropped to 6th last year. Some might doubt this, thinking our government can't be that good, but that's because they only see incompetent officials. Inefficient civil servants exist everywhere, but Korean bureaucrats are relatively capable. For example, during the recent tariff negotiations with the US, Korean officials worked tirelessly across time zones. We shouldn't overlook their efforts. Looking at government competitiveness by sector, Korea ranks high in ICT, national defense, R&D, economy, and welfare among OECD countries, but it ranks lower in education, 28th, and governance, 17th. What determines government competitiveness isn't the organization itself, but the civil servants who work within the organization. Their capabilities can be broken down into 6 core elements. Let me briefly explain why they matter. Above all, execution, the ability to implement policies and create real change, is crucial. After the Lee Jae-myung administration took office, they quickly prepared in just 100 days for the APEC summit, which the previous administration had neglected. The fact that APEC was held without any major issues is a major success. Think about the embarrassment at the Saemangum Jamboree 2 years ago, which was caused by poor restroom facilities. This time, they even changed the summit venue at the National Museum considering the restroom conditions. It shows thorough attention to detail. The APEC task force under the Prime Minister's office demonstrated how essential execution capability is. Ethics is another key competency for public officials. For example, in Singapore, it was once riddled with crime, but it became a global economic leader with a per capita income of over $90,000. Former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew led by example. He even punished his own daughter-in-law for corruption. He helped build a clean and ethical civil service. As time changed, new competencies emerged. True democracy requires strong communication with the public. Compare Korea's response to MERS in 2015 and COVID-19 in 2020. During COVID, then head of the Disease Control and Prevention Agency, Jung Eun-kyung, appeared on TV every morning, directly engaging with citizens. Another emerging competency is the ability to handle new technologies such as smart systems and AI. AI is not just a technical tool, it has enormous potential to transform labor, jobs, and even social relationships. The future of Korea will largely depend on how well civil servants understand both the strengths and weaknesses of AI and big data and how effectively they apply them in their work. Korea's modern history has been marked by a series of intense turning points. Here, I visualized how the 6 core competencies have evolved across different eras using color-coded scores out of 10. So 10 is a full score and darker colors indicate stronger performance. From the devastation of the Korean War to the miracle of becoming an advanced economy and later to democratization and a welfare society, these achievements were driven by the strong execution and organizational abilities of our civil servants at the time. Today, while most competencies remain relatively strong, we still fall short in ethics, AI, and political communication. But we should also consider the opposite view. Some say, why should government take the lead today? Some argue, bureaucrats ruin the country and the private sector does better. That's the view of many neoliberal scholars. But take K-culture, K-pop Demon Hunters, that is now globally popular. Is it just thanks to Sony or director Maggie Kang or the private sector? Did the government succeed by doing nothing? I still believe that the government plays a vital role. Around the world, there are many interesting types of content, but few achieve global success. Korea also had K-culture content in the past, so why is it gaining global popularity only now? My answer is it's because of Korea's national strength. From the Joseon dynasty through to the state-led miracle on the Han River, Korea's rise has been driven by government leadership. Our capable government also adopted Western democracy, which helped shape today's Republic of Korea. Now, Korea's overall standing in the world is finally being recognized. A similar case is Japanese culture. Its global popularity in the past was also backed by strong economic power of Japan. In short, cultural products succeed when supported by the state. To strengthen national competitiveness, government competitiveness is absolutely essential. Today, countries around the world are in intense competition. I disagree with the argument that governments should step back and let the private sector take the lead. I believe government competitiveness will become even more important going forward for 2 main reasons. First, the economy is no longer solely driven by private companies. Since the return of the conservative Trump administration, the global order has changed dramatically with rising tariffs and increased visa fees. Diplomacy now encompasses not just politics but also economics, defense, and culture. The president openly promotes Tesla vehicles at the White House and even criticizes Tylenol. In this new context, governments are now competing globally to secure supply chains from acquiring resources to producing, selling, and consuming goods. The second reason is that domestic and international issues can no longer be separated. For a country like Korea, which depends heavily on trade, government competitiveness is even more critical. Our bureaucrats can't afford to be frogs in a well. They need global-level capabilities. In today's globalized world, domestic problems are international issues and international issues are domestic ones. And who, if not the government, can take comprehensive responsibility for solving these policy challenges? So how do foreign bureaucracies compare? I asked 29 international experts I know personally, and they responded online. So 29 out of the 29 experts sent me the response. Civil servants in European countries like France, Germany, and the Netherlands showed consistently strong performance across most areas, but were relatively weak in execution ability. U.S. civil servants stood out in AI and legal expertise. China was particularly strong in AI, but average in other areas. Japan showed strength in ethics and political communication, but had low competencies in AI. But a crisis is emerging. In Korea's civil service, as shown in the data, top talents are no longer entering public service, and even those who pass the highly competitive exams are leaving early. This is deeply concerning. Why is the public sector no longer attractive to younger generations? Because it doesn't operate on meritocracy. People feel they cannot fully apply their skills or get recognized for their performance. If this trend continues, Korea's government competitiveness will fall sharply in the coming years, putting the entire national economy at serious risk. So, what should we do? To overcome this crisis in civil service, we need to boldly break away from outdated systems. The rigid grade 1 to 9 structure should be simplified into 3 groups, and the 9th, 7th, and 5th level civil service exams should be unified into a single test. And it should move beyond the one-time exam. It should connect recruiting with university education to cultivate talent. And let me clarify a common criticism that bureaucrats lack expertise. But the expertise needed in government is different from that of the private sector. I don't think that even Einstein can be the effective minister of science. Bureaucrats don't just need academic knowledge, they need administrative expertise. That means, first, they need a global vision. Second, they need a broad knowledge that goes beyond a narrow field. And third, strong policy execution skills. The real issue is that such talent is hard to find. In Singapore, the government selects outstanding university students, offers scholarship, and pays them 3 times more than we do. Korea must improve how it treats its public servants. Salaries should be viewed not as a cost but as an investment, with the intention of putting that talent to good use. We also need bold reform in personnel management. We must break the system that allows underperformance, so-called bureaucratic villains, to remain in place. Young civil servants can't tolerate seeing such people receive the same treatment. We also need a weed out the weak, retain the strong approach, where incompetent officials are removed and talented ones are rewarded. Promotions and salaries must be based on performance, not years of service. Ethics has always been important, but today it's important in a new way. Since the introduction of confirmation hearings and the new anti-graft law, the civil service has become much cleaner. But ethics today means more than just being clean. It now demands a proactive attitude towards solving citizens' pain and concerns. We need civil servants who aren't just rule followers, but reflective public officials who constantly ask themselves the meaningful questions and take initiatives. The quick questions are, so can this problem really be solved through government intervention? When it is solved, who primarily benefit from the public good that results? And can the issue be addressed while fully following the due process? They have to ask these questions. Let me conclude. Until now, our civil servants have been highly capable. The problem is we are now facing a major crisis in the civil service itself. To sustain and strengthen bureaucratic competency, the current control-centered model must shift to proactive public service, one that rolls up its sleeves solely for the people. For policy recommendations, I will now hand it over to Dr. Kang Won-taek, Director of the Institute for Future Strategy